Number one priority is to remember we are a service business, which means we get paid to provide a service, which means if you're a total douchebag, people won't want to work with you because you can have the best materials in the entire world, but if you're kind of an asshole, no one's going to want to work with you. So get really good at your materials first, yes, but then focus on everything that it means to be a good service provider. If you want to start a real estate photography business, here are the first steps that you're going to need to take if you're starting from absolute zero. Let's say you don't have any gear, you don't have any experience doing real estate photography, you don't know what you should be doing, you don't know anything about it. Let's talk about it. First steps. Obviously, you're gonna need to get some gear, okay? I won't go too much in depth on what gear you need and why, but we will touch on kind of the basics of it. You don't need a full frame camera. You can get an APS-C camera or you can get a micro four thirds camera. Again, I'm not gonna go super in depth into what each of these things are, except APS-C is a crop sensor camera, micro four thirds is a double cropped camera, so there's some lens considerations you need to make when deciding what system you're gonna get on. You don't need to go full frame, you could go micro four thirds. There are pros and cons of both, look it up. But you need to get some gear. What gear do you need? Well, when starting out, you're gonna need, number one, a camera. There are some options as far as starter cameras. If you're looking to get in on a budget, you've got the A6000 series. So this is the A6000 through the A6700, with the A6700 being the newest option. That's gonna be the most expensive. I think it runs right around $1,300 new right now. For these cameras, obviously now we're gonna need to focus on a lens. What lens do we need? Talking about the APS-C camera, which is what the A6000 series is, you're gonna need something that is a lot wider of a lens. So you can't get a 14mm on a 6000 and think that it's going to be good enough for real estate photography. You need something like a 10 to 18mm. There's a quick formula to keep in mind. The Sony A6000 has a crop factor of 1.5 times. Okay, so any lens you slap on this camera will need, and this includes the FX30, Canon has a slightly different crop sensor, but for all intents and purposes, this is what we're gonna focus on. It has the crop factor of 1.5, so any lens that you slap on a Canon A6000 series camera, you're gonna need to multiply by 1.5x, and there is your FOV, your field of view, okay? So if we get a 14mm, and we slap it on a 6000 camera, and you have to multiply it by 1.5x, I think that ends up being about 21mm. Far too narrow for real estate photography. You need something like a 10 to 18. You can either get this from Sony or Sigma. Sigma, their 10 to 18 is fairly new and it has some bad quality control issues. You might get really lucky and get a really good lens. You might get unlucky and get a really bad lens. So Sony, the Sigma, it comes in f2.8. which is what we talk about with apertures. It's a lot brighter of a lens. More light can come in. The Sony comes in at f4, so it's slightly darker, but it's a good lens. There's not so much lens distortion that you deal with the Sony versus the Sigma, but you have to multiply this 10mm times 1.5x to get an FOV, a field of view, of 15mm, okay? And that is well within the range of a good enough wide angle lens for real estate photography, is that 15mm. So if you're going the budget route and you're getting a Sony A6000 camera, A6400 is my recommendation. I think you can pick them up for about maybe $600 to $700 or something like that. Reason being is it has the newer Sony NPF batteries, so they last a whole lot longer, whereas the 6000, 6100, 6200, and 6300 all have Sony's older, much smaller battery, which is no good. So after our lens is taken care of, we're gonna say the 10 to 18mm. The 6000 camera, let's just say it's a budget of $400 to $1,300 really, because it's the 6000 all the way to 6700. So you can get in at any price point with that. The 10 to 18mm I've seen go for around about $400 as well if you get the Sony 10 to 18mm. Then you're going to need a tripod. By and far, you need something metal, you need something sturdy, you need something that's going to last you forever. My biggest recommendation, which you can pick up using my affiliate links down below, is the Slick DX700 Pro. It's what I'm filming on right now. The tripod is right there. It's a fantastic tripod. I've had it since I started real estate photography and I still use it. every single day. To attach your camera to your tripod, you need an accessory. You need either a ball head or you need a geared head. Pros and cons of both. First, the ball head. Cheap. 20 bucks, whatever. I'm using a ball head right now. Not quite as accurate as something like a geared head, but a whole lot cheaper. If you break them, you can get a new one. It's no problem. Geared heads, you're gonna wanna spend probably around $300 on for something really, really nice to make sure it lasts. Geared heads are harder to get used to in the beginning, but once you do, it becomes second nature. Geared heads, you have to be flipping all the gears to make sure that everything's perfectly level. And then, you know, you can do a one-handed change or fix of any verticals that you need in order to get everything squared away as possible for your real estate photos. Ball head is a two-hand affair, so you have to hold the camera, you have to adjust, like loosen the ball head, adjust, and then tighten it, whereas the geared head you could just flip through. But I do not like geared heads. I don't use them, don't like them, don't care what you think, not a big fan of them. So I say let's go the ball head route, get really good at that. It's $25, okay? Also, the Slick DX700 Pro frequently goes on sale for $99, so we'll put $99. If you want to do video, I do not recommend, like if you get the 6700, yes, that's fine, you can do video with it. It's a 10-bit color depth camera. I won't go too much in depth as to what that is, just know it's better for colors. You get more accurate colors. If you F something up on site with your video, you get the white balance not quite right, you can fix it in post, whereas if it's an 8-bit color camera, like the 6600 and older, the A7 III, A7 II, all that, 8-bit color depth cameras, no bueno, we don't like them. But if you want to do video, I recommend the 6700. If you want to do video and like keep up with what other people are doing, if you just want to like get into it and you don't really care about having the highest quality right off the bat, then you can do the older ones. I don't recommend it though. But what I do recommend for video, if you have an iPhone 13 Pro or newer, that's gonna be your best bet. I have the 15 Pro Max, and even though I have a ZVE1 and a 16 to 35 millimeter G Master lens for real estate videos, I still use my iPhone 15 Pro Max a good majority of the time. If a house is super small, let's say it's a 900 square foot house, you know, not much room to film in, and 16 millimeters would be really, really narrow, especially if you have in-body image stabilization on, which crops in just a little bit more. The 13 millimeter, or rather the 0.5x lens that comes with these, is going to be your best bet. That comes out at around about 13 millimeters field of view for real estate video. So I recommend getting, you know, because you can pick up these iPhone 15 Pro Maxes, you can get them for like 30 bucks a month at your phone dealer, you know what I mean? So just pay the slight extra to have this nice new phone, because you'll be able to do property videos, you will be able to do vertical social media highlight videos, and you will be able to do vertical social media walkthrough videos. And those are all fantastic services that you can do that will pay off your phone exceedingly fast, and they're just good services to have. But to be able to get smooth footage, you're going to need a gimbal, okay? You need a cell phone gimbal if you're going the cell phone route. I personally use and like the DJI Osmo Mobile 6. It's fantastic. It's got a little extendy pole so you can, you know, shoot a little bit higher if you want to, if you're outside, whatever. It's a fantastic gimbal. Here's the thing about using your cell phone for real estate videos. You probably can't tell if someone's really good at what they're doing, like if they're a professional cinematographer, professional videographer, whatever, but they're using an iPhone, you probably won't be able to tell the difference in footage. It is very, very good if you know what you're doing and you actually spend the time in learning how to do everything correctly. You can get away with using your iPhone a whole lot longer than you probably think you can. You might be worried about client perception. What if they see me show up with just my cell phone? I mean, that's kind of why you have the camera, so you can take really nice photos, you know, bracketed photos or whatever. Not super necessary. I mean, I could sell everything and just have an entire real estate photography business just based off using my phone. Because I'm good at what I do, I know how to get the absolute maximum out of it. So don't bother getting the best of the best. Like you might be tempted to get an FX30 or an FX3 and an A7 IV for your photos or whatever. That's what I did. I have a ZVE1 for videos, and I've got the A7 IV, which I do all my YouTube stuff with that I'm filming on too. So you could go any direction that you want. But if you want to do 360 tours, what are we gonna do with that? We can do the Insta360, X3, or X4. You could go the X2 route, which is a whole lot cheaper. quality's not as good. You also, another option is the Ricoh Theta Z1, which is a fantastic camera. The quality is a whole lot better than the X3 and the X4. That being said, it's about 2 times more expensive than the other ones are. I think the Ricoh Theta Z1 comes in around $900, and the Insta360 X3 and X4 I think is about $500 or something like that. So depending on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to do Matterport, these cameras are all compatible. There's there's the Ricoh Theta SC2, which is about, I don't know, 250 bucks, which you could go for, but it's even worse quality than the X3. You could get it done and then quickly upgrade. Let your clients pay for all of your upgraded gear. You can start base and then upgrade later. And then for aerial, what do I recommend for your drone? I see a lot of people asking about the DJI Mini 4K. Small sensor, you're gonna, the thing is with the really budget drones, you're gonna grow out of it really, really fast. Okay, so if you opt to get something less than a DJI Mini 3 Pro or Mini 4 Pro or DJI Air 3 or whatever, you're gonna outgrow it pretty fast, with the exception of the DJI Air 2S. It's still a fantastic drone. It has the same sensor as the DJI Mini 3 Pro, can shoot 4K 60, all that jazz. It's a fantastic drone. I think you can pick them up for around about $650 for the Fly More combo, which you will need. Please get the Fly More combo. Even if you're not doing multiple shoots right now, you know, in a day, you will get to the point where you're doing 3-4 shoots in a day, and one battery is not gonna be good enough to get everything done with that. So you can get the DJI Air 2S, or you can get the Mini 3 Pro. I recommend the Air 3. It's a fantastic drone. I love it. It's got 2 different lenses. The 70mm gives a really nice lens compression effect when you're doing real estate videos. And I recently shot a video that was like hilltop, and you know, there was the valley in the background, and the video that I got was really, really cool. It's not super expensive. I think it's about around about $1,400 if you get the Fly More combo new, and you get the DJI Care Refresh, because that's another thing. The Care Refresh is mandatory for these drones. As far as like buying all this stuff new or used, I recommend buying most of it used. Buy the lenses used, buy the cameras used, tripod, get it new, ball head, get it new, you know, gimbal for the cell phone, get it new. These cameras, the 360 cameras, get them used, the drone, get it new. You will crash the drone. It is not a question of if you'll crash the drone, it is when you'll crash your drone. I don't care how good you are, something will happen to make this drone crash. So you have to be prepared for it. DJI Care Refresh, I think you pay like, you know, it's a premium based on the value of the drone. I paid something like $300 for, when I had the Mini 3 Pro, I paid $300 for Care Refresh, and then the drone crashed. It wasn't my fault. Somebody came and destroyed it as I was landing it, because it was during the whole Chinese spy balloon debacle, and he was worried about people spying on him. So he came out and he destroyed my drone. He almost got arrested. It was really cool. He handed me a check for $1,300, but it only cost me $75 to replace the drone because I had it insured. So this is necessary. Get the Fly More combo when you get a drone. I don't care what you want. Spend the extra $200-300, get it new, get the DJI Care Refresh, and there you go. So that's all there is really to know about what gear that you need when getting into real estate photography. But let's talk about the systems and processes that you'll need. Number 1, you need a good website. I understand that we are real estate photographers and we are not website designers. My background is in marketing and web design, so that was a huge boon when starting my business. I was able to build the website, built a really good one, built a custom one. Didn't cost me $2,500 because I already had the skills, tools, and know-how to do it all for super cheap. If you want to build your own website and you don't want to use something like Wix or Squarespace, because I do not recommend Wix or Squarespace, look into WordPress.org. It's very important, not .com, okay? WordPress.org is free. WordPress.com is not free. So you'll use a WordPress.org installation to be the primary housing of your website, and then you'll use something like Elementor, which is free for the free version, which you can build an entire website just with the free version of Elementor built on top of a WordPress.org installation, and then you'll need something to host it. So there's like, you could do SiteGround, you could do HostGator. If you really didn't want to go the separate hosting route, Elementor has their own version of hosting, and the WordPress.com has their own version of hosting. If you're unfamiliar with what hosting is, you need somewhere to host the website, so it's not just going to be automatically hosted. You can build a website, but for it to be public, it needs to be hosted and visible, not only for visibility, but also for quickness, efficiency, speed of the website, all that stuff. So you need a website, number one. Number two, you absolutely need social media. But what social media is the most important? Facebook, diminishing returns. TikTok, whatever. Instagram is where it's at. Instagram is where the majority of realtors house their stuff. It's where most of them are going to be. So you're going to post a whole bunch of stuff to social media. What are you going to post? You're going to post your photos. Not as many of them because photos don't really do super well on social media, on Instagram anymore. But by and large, you're going to post behind the scenes reels. Okay? So when you're on a shoot, you're going to pull out your camera, you're going to talk to the camera and say, I'm here at 123 ABC Street just doing photos for a client of mine that works for Sotheby's, whatever it is. Or you're going to set up a tripod with your phone on it and take some video of you snapping pictures. You don't even need to be at a property that you're shooting to do it. You can set it up in your house, you can set it up in your room, you can fake this stuff, you can rent an Airbnb and take a bunch of content and post it all. The only thing that matters when it comes to posting information about what you do is just to showcase to your followers, people that the content will show up for, that you are a real estate photographer. You take pictures, you take video. It's showcasing what you do. And the whole purpose of all this stuff that you're posting is just to facilitate interactions, because it takes an average of 7 interactions with your brand before someone converts from a potential client into a client. 7 interactions. So whatever you can post, if they follow, you post a behind the scenes reel of you taking photos or taking videos, or you post a comment on one of their stuff, or you like their one of their posts, or you reach out to them and send them a message asking them how things are going. Each one of those things is just eating away at those 7 interactions, so that by the time they need a photographer, you pop into their head first because they've been interacting with your stuff. That's the whole point of this. Social media, to generate interest, to make people aware of your existence. This falls kind of more into the marketing side of things, but because we just talked about marketing on social media, I'll talk about it. Open houses. If you need to build a portfolio, hold your camera and your tripod, walk into an open house, introduce yourself, ask if you can take some sample photos that you can send to the realtor. Once you get their yes and their contact information, add them to a spreadsheet, call them every 2 weeks until they either tell you that they never want anything to do with you, or they have a property for you to shoot. That's what you do with open houses. If you want to see a video entirely talking about that, you can click somewhere up here and it'll be right there. Also, walking into brokerages is another fantastic way. You go in, you introduce yourself to any of the realtors in there, any of the brokers in there. Just try and get familiar with them. Again, add them to that spreadsheet, call them every 2 weeks, whatever you want to do. Or you could go to brokerages with the express intent of doing brokerage presentations. I might do another one that's dedicated of like how to do the brokerage presentation, and maybe me kind of doing a mock run through of exactly what my presentation is, but that's brokerages and open houses. Other systems and processes, you'll need something to deliver. Something like REO, which I don't recommend, HD Photo Hub, which I do recommend, and Spiro, which I also don't recommend. But HD Photo Hub, you are only going to use these platforms in order to deliver materials and to collect payment for those materials. You are not going to use their shopping cart. You are not going to use their scheduling. You're not going to use anything. You will use it for delivery, payment collection, and single listing website creation. That is it. Reason being, if you use the automated shopping cart for any one of these linked to your website, you will be losing revenue because you are taking out the human interaction part of starting a real estate photography business. When someone reaches out to you, they inquire upon your services on your website, and you just have them immediately go to, an automated shopping cart. You take all the one-on-one out of it. As soon as something comes in on your website, you pick up the phone, you call them, and then you talk about bundles. There's a video all about bundles that I'll link somewhere up here too. If it's live, I was having issues with it, so I got to figure what's going on. So that is the portion of the delivery platforms. You do not want to use Google Drive to send materials. You do not want to use Dropbox to send materials. Use a branded delivery platform that is specifically catered towards real estate photographers. In addition to this, because all these 3 things do not facilitate payments, they collect payments and they help the transaction going. You're going to need, let's just go over here, payment collection. Okay, payments. You might be tempted to just set up a QuickBooks account and leave it at that. Disgusting. Don't do it. Payments, you're either going to set up a Square account, which I recommend, or you're gonna set up a Stripe account, which you could, but the fees are slightly higher. User interface is kind of crappy. I, out of these two, much prefer Square. Square gets linked to your HD Photo Hub account via an API, okay, or you just log in and it shares the information automatically between the two. And then when someone gets the materials that you are ready to deliver and collect payment for, there will be an amount owed that you select on HD Photo Hub, and then that will link to your Square. And then once someone pays, it's going to funnel them down into a business bank account. This is very important. Do not mix business and personal funds. When you have a business, you have to get a business bank account. And how you get a business bank account is you set up your business, which would either be an LLC, an S Corp. I'm not going to go into any of this in this video because, do your own research. I'm not an accountant or a lawyer. If you want to set up one of these, you can use something like Zen Business. I have a link to use it down below. Great business, whatever. Once you get your LLC, S Corp, C Corp, whatever, then you go onto the IRS's website, and this is just if you're in the United States, and you're gonna apply for an EIN, which means Employer Identification Number. Once you get that, costs like 25 bucks, 30 bucks, something like that, you're gonna go back, you're gonna input your EIN to Square or Stripe, and you're gonna, I think maybe HD Photo Hub and all these also maybe use the EIN, but I'm not sure. But then you're going to use the EIN to set up a business bank account. Business bank account using something like Lily Financial is completely free to do. Fantastic, get it done. Keep your funds separate. But not every single one of your clients is going to be a pay to deliver thing that you're going to use HD Photo Hub. You need a way to send invoices because maybe you do have to deliver materials and you have to send a net 30 invoice or whatever. I talked about not using QuickBooks, and that's because you can use something called Wave Apps. And Wave Apps is fantastic. Wave Apps is essentially the same thing as QuickBooks, but it's free. It's a whole lot more user-friendly. I could go on and on about how much I hate QuickBooks, but just use Wave Apps, check it out. It's free to use. You can send invoices, all that stuff. When you would do invoices is if you're working with something like a commercial client or a property management company where they have their own payment terms where you need to wait 30 days to get paid or whatever. So you need to send an invoice with all the line items, so photography, 2D floor plan, property video, aerial photos, whatever, with their corresponding prices, and you need to have a net 30 invoice, which means you get 30 days, or your client gets 30 days to pay that invoice, and then it also still gets linked to your business bank account. You do have to have an EIN. I'm pretty sure you have to have an EIN to use something like Wave Apps. So that's how you do all this stuff. But going back to getting clients, we already talked about open houses. We already talked about the Instagram method. We already talked about walking into brokerages. What's next? Well, cold calling. Does cold calling work? Yes, cold calling works, and you should be doing it. Cold call realtors. Start now. You don't have to do anything crazy. My specific script that I like to use and the script that I tell my students to use is you pick up the phone, you say, hey, is this Steven? Steven says yes. You're like, I'm so sorry. This is Jordan. This is a cold call. I hate doing this. I'm not trying to sell you anything today. I really just want to let you know I exist. I'm a real estate photographer. You might not have any listings for me right now, but I really just want to get the opportunity to share what I do. Can I send you a link to my website and follow up with you every few weeks just to see if there's any good time to collaborate? The answer is always going to be yes. You add them to your spreadsheet. You follow up with them until they either, hire or tell you to go away. And if this result is what's making you afraid to cold call people, forget about it. Closed mouths don't get fed, so you have to open your mouth, you have to reach out to these people, you have to ascertain who is interested in your services, and if they are, they're going to tell you. And if they're not interested in your services, they're going to tell you to go away. That's totally fine. You're not going to tarnish your reputation by having people who aren't interested in your service. Just do it. Cold call realtors. It's going to be the way to go. But what's next? Well, there are shoots that you're going to be going on. You're going to learn how to do photos. You're going to learn how to do videos. You're going to spend a whole lot of time studying how to do property videos, all that stuff. Number one priority is to remember we are a service business, which means we get paid to provide a service, which means if you're a total douchebag, people won't want to work with you because you can have the best materials in the entire world, but if you're kind of an asshole, no one's going to want to work with you. So get really good at your materials first, yes, but then focus on everything that it means to be a good service provider. To be specific, what does this mean? be kind, be accommodating, be efficient, and we could throw all these out. We could be courteous, we could be nice, we could be anything that you need to do. Just be the person that people would want to work with, and you'll get more work from it, and you'll get referrals and all that stuff. But the thing that you do not want to be is a pretentious and arrogant photographer, okay? I don't know what it is about photographers, but a lot of them become really pretentious once they start making a little bit of money. They think just because they have a nice, expensive camera that they can treat everyone like dirt, and people don't like working with people like that. So you are going to be kind, accommodating, efficient, courteous, nice. You're going to keep in mind of all these situations, because real estate transactions, and it has a lot of money on the line. So anything that you can do to make the process easier and simple and less chaotic for your clients, the better. With homeowners, because you're going to meet a lot of homeowners, you have to be nice, you have to be accommodating. You might have gone on a bunch of shoots, but chances are this is the first time that they've ever worked with a photographer entering their home. So you have to be nice, you have to make the situation as relaxing as possible, get to know them, be nice, all this stuff. If you do everything that we outlined, you got your gear, you got good at materials, you learned how to get clients, you learned how to keep clients by being kind, accommodating, efficient, and all that stuff, you will grow your business naturally. There are some things to keep in mind, like improving your website, getting a better workflow down, becoming faster, doing better materials, all that stuff. But at the core of building your real estate photography business, and this is really the secret to all this business is, okay? Number one, it's relationships. People want to work with people that they like. You got to build relationships. You got to get out there and do it. Two, obviously, you have to get good at your materials. Of course, you can't be a shitty real estate photographer and expect to succeed. You have to be good at relationships. You have to get good at your materials. And number three, arguably most important, you have to be consistent. Nothing worth having is easy. Nothing worth having comes quick. It's going to take time to build your real estate photography business. You can supplement the consistency to speed it up a whole lot faster by just doing a lot of it, treating it like your full-time job, going into brokerages Monday through Friday, going to open houses Saturday and Sunday all day, grind, all that stuff. Yes, but by and large, luck is going to play a huge point into this, because you might introduce yourself to 50 realtors, 100 realtors, but maybe only 4 of them have a listing. That kind of comes down to luck. Maybe they all have photographers that they're super happy with, that is their husband or wife, so they would never work with anybody else. There is a slight amount of luck that gets played into this. So the more consistent you are and the more volume of reach out you do, the more success you'll see. But you might be curious how long it might take for you to get clients and see something like a $10,000 a month, revenue stream coming into your business. It's really important to keep in mind, busy seasons do exist. You can make a whole lot of money doing them. When is the busy season? In my experience, it's been March through, I'd say, August. So this month that I'm filming this in. Slower season, which doesn't necessarily mean it's dead. It just means it's a little bit slower. It's going to be September through February, okay? Less goes on there because people are dealing with holidays. It's gotten a little bit slowed down. It's going to the fall. You've got Halloween, you've got Thanksgiving, you've got, Christmas, New Year's, all these holidays. People really don't want to be upheaving their entire family to move and do these big real estate transactions. So busy time is around here. Slow season is around here. This is when I started. I started in December, is it 2019 or something like that? And I took the time to build my website, got really good at all the materials I did, so that by the time March rolled around, I could have a lot of money coming through because I was already prepared to do everything. So what I want you to do, practice, get really good at everything that you're doing, but then once you're good at that, stop and only focus on the things that are going to make you money. What makes you money? We talked about it. It's cold calling. It's social media posting. It's going into open houses. It's going into brokerages, and it's overall networking with people who are interested in your service. That's all there is to it. Otherwise, it's just a time and consistency game. Get out there. Do it. Nobody's going to build your business for you. You can do it. Anyone can be a real estate photographer. All you have to do is do everything that we outlined and do it consistently. Do it for a long period of time, and you will have a business. Nothing worth having ever comes easily or simple. This is going to suck. This might be hard, but you'll make a whole lot of money doing it. Goodbye.